Hello, everyone. I'm Stephanie Boozer with CGC HQ, and it is a pleasure to welcome Flexxible IT to our webinar stage today. Got a lot of great stuff. I know we've got some demos ahead for you, so I know we're going to dive in pretty soon. I just want to cover a couple of housekeeping details for you. We are recording today's presentation, and you'll get a link to that tomorrow. It's going to come in an email directly from GoToWebinar, so just be on the lookout for that. Also, we'd like you to type in your questions as you have them. Just throw them in the chat. We'll try to get to as many as we can today. I think we're going to take breaks along the way just to see if there are questions, so definitely put them in as you have them. All right, so it is a pleasure to welcome Pete Downing to our webinar stage. Hello, Pete. He is the CMO of Flexxible IT. Hi, Pete.
Hey, Stephanie. Thanks for having us today.
Absolutely. And keeping an eye on all of your amazing questions that I know you're going to be asking because you're going to be so inquisitive today, is Arno Payne. He is a Tampa CGC leader and a CTP, and he's been on a few of these webinars with me lately. Thanks for coming back today, Arno.
No problem. Thanks, Stephanie.
All right, I am going to kick things right over to Pete to get us going. So let me send you the screen controls.
All right.
There you go.
All right. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, we
All
can.
right, good. Well, first off, thanks CUGC for having me in Flexxible IT today. I'm excited to be presenting to the team and to the group. And so I picked this topic because the word DaaS and desktop as a service has been going around thanks to our lovely analysts and the vendors, et cetera. So, I really want to dive into, what is desktop as a service? How do we play in the space? But more importantly, how do we integrate with Citrix? So I'll take you through the high level what, how we integrate, and then I'll show and tell with some good demos. And before I do, I just want to give a shout out to a couple folks. I think a lot of folks might be headed to E2EVC, but shout out to the E2EVC crew. Carl Webster and Adam Cooperman will be there from our team. So if you happen to be there, go find them, say hello. And we'll have a few members of our engineering staff there, as well as a few other field CTOs. So we'll have a pretty good presence at E2EVC. So definitely check out Webster's and Cooperman's sessions. If you're not following Flexxible IT, please do. Give us a follow, whatever flavor you pick, no worries, or pick them all. We definitely welcome and the follows and any input you have. And I'll reiterate it, I'm a big fan of Q&A. I will pause and ask if there's any questions based on some of the sections I'm going through. I tend to pause every couple slides and make sure I'm not glazing over any Q&A. I can't see the Q&A, so I'll look to Arno to help me out and make sure there's no questions out there. All right, so before I dive in, I put together a couple poll surveys. So again, this helps me understand the audience a little bit, understands where your heads are at with Citrix and DaaS and all that. So Stephanie, if you can kick off the polls for me, that'd be awesome. And again, as the polls are going, the goal here is simple. We want to, gather some information. I can reference them, and no data is captured on the screen. No user information is captured on the screen, or no data is shared.
And so, Pete, do you want to run through them all right now, or I started with the first one?
Yeah, if you could, if you can run through them all. So let's see, I can bring up my email because I can't see them. So the first one is, let's see.
My enterprise is using Citrix DaaS.
So the goal here is, hey, are you using Citrix DaaS today? And when I say Citrix DaaS, proper Citrix DaaS. So are you using it, cloud plus cloud connectors plus apps and desktops, so end to end? Are you doing hybrid? You have kind of hybrid of the both, like still on premises. You still stuck on premises, but you own it. You're still just on premises. You haven't even looked at it yet, or no, why should I move? Or I just don't care. So that's the first question. And I usually give it about a minute. So let me know when you're.
I just shut the next poll down. You ready for the second one? Do you want me to share the results?
Yeah, sure. Really quick.
You might can see them. I'm not sure. If you can't, I can read them to you.
Yeah, I can't, so it's weird.
So looks like your winner, your top ones are the top two: production end-to-end and leveraging hybrid rights.
Okay, cool.
All right, I'll move on to the next one. And this one, Pete, is enterprise evaluating user or
Yeah,
user.
so my enterprise is evaluating Azure infrastructure as a service, so the compute side. So are you using compute up in Azure? Are you doing it for a specific use case? Are you still testing it? Nope, you're using it in production, you're considering it, or it's not on the radar, or using an alternative. So are you using like Google platform, cloud platform, or AWS, or something else?
All right, give a couple more seconds and then I'll close it out. All right, and that one, your top answer is yes, we are using it in production, followed by no, but considering it.
Cool, all right.
All right.
Here.
And here comes number 3.
Yep, so my Citrix implementation includes XenApp 6.5 at the moment. And yes, I'm still asking this because yes, I still see it. So, pick the answer that chooses, matches you best, trying to move off. Yes, I have application compatibility issues. No, I am fully upgraded, or no, it does not apply to me. You've never had XenApp 6.5 ever, so.
So far, the no's are out front.
Cool.
You got a small one trying to move off. All right, I'll go ahead and close this one. And yep, nope, fully upgraded, nope, does not apply to me. And then yes, application compatibility issues, and then a tiny percent trying to move off.
Cool.
And then we just have one more.
Yep.
Your biggest pain point.
Yeah, so what's your biggest pain you most often see in your environment? I'm sure there's many, and I try to categorize them based on kind of the access plane of Citrix. So user issues, slow logins, profile, things like that, access issues, latency, gateway username and password, two-factor authentication issues, control issues, hey, you got to upgrade all your Citrix infrastructure, you're having OS issues, things like that, or resource issues, hardware scalability, hardware issues, and then finally support, level 1, level 2 issues.
Pete?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, just for the poll we had before, there was a question from James asking why, I think the question is why you had only 6.5 and not 7.15, 19.12 or 22.3. I think.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never thought about the newer versions, we'll call them, I guess. It may be interesting to pull on that in a future one, but yeah, that's a good point. I'll have to add that to my list of questions that I ask, but I always forget about 7X. So.
All right, so I'm just showing the results from that last one. It looks like your winner is user issues, followed by access, then support, and then control and resource are together, tied.
Cool. All right, well, that's awesome. Well, thank you everybody for partaking in the polls. I just like having interaction with the audience to get some level set on, where my head's at before I jump in and present to the audience. So, Stephanie, I can't share, so you have to give me your rights, I think. Oh, wait,
I'm
hold on, never mind.
right now, actually.
All right, cool. All right, so let's jump in. I'm used to Zoom, so. All right, so I always like to throw a stat out there, and desktop as a service, the term has been tossed around a lot over the last, I'll say 2 to 3 years. We can go back as far as probably 2008 when, companies like Destone and others were using this, but the term has been around, as we know, as IT professionals for a long time, but it's more front and center now, thanks to Gartner, thanks to Forrester, thanks to, the vendors in the space. And, the prediction or input is, 72% of IT leaders will increase their investment in DaaS over the next 24 months or so. And this is based on the market guide for desktop as a service by Gartner. All right, and it's a great guide, and it kind of highlights and defines what is desktop as a service. But one of the things that I argue is the word desktop tends to haze what it really is, right? That we all know as Citrix professionals that desktop is more than just desktops. It can be apps, it can be session-based computing, it can be a combination of the both. It doesn't just have to be a desktop. And so I kind of stray away from the term, but I do get why we use it. Now, just really quick, who is Flexxible IT? We have been bringing desktop as a service to the data center since 2008. Sebastian Pratt and team started the company in Spain and was focused on how do I simplify the day-to-day of my Citrix environment. And they formed, different tools around automation, deployment, and have evolved and brought on things like hyper-converged infrastructure, a fully managed SaaS solution that helps you manage your environments, to what I'm going to talk about today, which is FlexxDesktop. So we've been around since 2008, and we are all over the globe. So primarily based in Spain, that's where our headquarters and dev center is, but we sit here in the US in Fort Lauderdale. Myself, I'm in Charlotte. We have a great team in London. We have a great team down in Brazil. So all over the globe and growing pretty fast. Parallel, we do partner with best of breed technology partners. Citrix has been a long-time partner of ours. We've been a Citrix Ready partner since 2008 and have been focused primarily on Citrix, but also all the various vendors in the space, hardware partners, cloud, and other various partners like NVIDIA, CrowdStrike, Cisco, etc. So we have a great stack of technologies that we work with, as well as we do partner with global system integrators. I just want to give a shout out to my friends at Kyndryl. Kyndryl is a great global system integrator and actually leverage our solution in their desktop as a workspace solution services. So, all right, so let's have a little fun today. Get all the marketing fluff out of the way. You're probably saying, well, hey, Pete, you're a marketing guy. Are you technical? And I think Arno would attest to, yeah, I'm pretty technical. And I think a lot of you folks, I can't see who's on, but I'm sure I know a good chunk of folks on the call today. And you know that I'm fairly technical. So we're gonna have a little fun, and I'll highlight what is going on in the world, and then I'll take you through a little tour of a couple of various demos if we have time, and I'll try to cover as much as I can. But really what I started thinking about is how do I fully move to Citrix Cloud? So a lot of folks, when I talk to my customers, are stuck still on premises, or they're in this hybrid world, or they're still not sure how to fully leverage and adopt Citrix Cloud. Now, this is getting a little easier now because Citrix has done a great job at trying to build resiliency into the cloud, not have downtime as much as possible. I know there was one recently, but build that redundancy and have it be reliable. Parallels, hey, how do I simplify my environment? And I think a lot of people get stuck at, they stop at the management and don't think about, well, can someone else manage some of the pieces for me? And so we'll talk a little bit about that today. And then finally, am I getting the most out of my environment? We can help you figure out, hey, are you leveraging your environment to the fullest? And where can we help you save money, especially if you're in Azure and you're looking to cut costs or streamline your deployment? So the goal here is simple. Hey, how's Flexxible IT and Citrix working together? So before I dive in, I want to talk about the future in desktop as a service. So our vision together, and behind the scenes, if you're using AVD, so again, Citrix DaaS or VDI if you're on-prem, AVD and Citrix, whatever combination you want to use, the goal is simple. How do we hide the complexity, right? And so if you think about it today, our focus is not going to be on us, the guys and gals that are wrench turning. So, a lot of us on the call today probably are the people that go and install it, configure it, et cetera. Our goal is, how do I simplify the day-to-day life of the folks that are helping that front line, right? So when the level 1 call comes into the help desk, how do I just make it easy for you to support that? But parallel, how do I make your life easier so you're not getting caught up in the day-to-day of managing infrastructure? You can focus on, how do I make my digital experience better for my end users. We don't care what cloud you use. We don't care if you're on-prem, you're in the cloud, you're both, you're using Google and Azure. We don't care. We can work with any cloud or any scenario. Our focus is how do we build a desktop as a service that's right for you. So we don't come in and say you have to use Azure or you have to use Equinix or you have to be in our data center. We come in and say, hey, we have a stack. We can put it in your data center. We can do a software-based stack in Azure. We can do a software-based stack on an existing deployment on Nutanix, as an example. We don't limit ourselves to on-premises or the cloud. And then obviously security is the priority. We maintain and have a great relationship with CrowdStrike and use them to manage our whole stack and provide end-to-end security on our stack. And then finally, operations and support are completely automated. So the goal is, hey, how do I simplify that day-to-day, right? Desktop as a service is great in concept, but the pieces that are still missing, and we'll talk about some of those in a minute, are infrastructure, level 1, L2, L3, L4 help desk issues, hardware issues, etc. So how do we help with that, and how do we ease the pain of managing this thing called desktop as a service? So Gartner defines desktop as a service as such, and I'm going to bring up my little pen here and draw, but I'm going to move my presenter view first. But you can see there's 3 different definitions of desktop as a service, and right here in this line we have traditional VDI, right? And a lot of us are still, I would argue, maybe in that camp, right? And when I say that, I mean, you're still doing the day-to-day support, you're still doing the network and security, you're still doing everything that's kind of right above this line right here. So everything up to this point. Now in the client world, you're saying, hey, I don't want to, deal with control plane, right? So I would argue Citrix Cloud fits into this bucket right here. But notice here, you're still on the hook to manage and maintain your hardware, upgrade it, support it, etc. So the question is, well, what if you didn't have to? And so that's where vendor defined as comes into play. That's where a vendor like us can come in and say, we'll manage everything up to here, and then we can figure out here to here who manages what. So if you say, hey, I want Flexxible IT to manage the images, we can do that and leave the user and the application management to you guys. And when I say user support, I mean profiles and OS related issues. We still help you with the Citrix and the VDI or the workspace issues, right? Or you can go to a fully managed stack. So you can, again, here to here is still kind of determined by you and the vendor. And there are some vendors who can do the whole stack. We can do the whole stack. So we kind of fall into this weird hybrid space right here to here, okay? And so this is Gartner's definition. And if you agree, great. If you don't, great. But again, I like how they define it because it's kind of pretty simple. Citrix aligns to, and I'll show a slide in a minute that plays very nicely as well. All right, so we all remember our workspace, and again, what is a workspace? Okay, and I think that's the key, and that's been my argument. Is like desktop as a service kind of undermines the whole notion of workspaces, and so really I think of it as hybrid workspaces. And I think a lot of us might have interacted with this type of workspace at some point in our lives, and some of us are dating ourselves, but hey. But then Citrix said, hey, we can do better. We're gonna define, the definition of what is a workspace, and we need it to work across, any. And a lot of you who know me know that I'm a big fan of this because it resonates, right? So I can have one place where I can get all my apps, all my desktop, or all my desktops, my data, my identity, etc., and have it be simple. And that's really what makes Citrix special to me, is that, hey, we want to simplify this thing called a workspace, right? But the question is, well, under the covers, a lot's going on, all right? And so if we look at CVAD service or DaaS or whatever you want to call it, you look at a high level of what's managed and by who, all right? And you notice here, right, this section right here, this is managed by Citrix. Now, there's pros and cons to that. The pros are, hey, Citrix might have some downtime. I mean, knock on wood, hopefully they don't, right? Or, hey, I don't have control of this. So there's a couple options to, how do you deal with gateway service? Do I still keep my, ADC on premises or not? Do I integrate my my MFA and SSO's provider or not, right? But behind the scenes, you still have all this. You have your VDAs, you have your apps and desktops. Someone's got to manage the hardware. What happens if there's hardware downtime? So that's where we can step in and help provide a service, and I'll explain more as we go through this. All right. All right, so here's another view of the world, and some of you said, hey, I'm still on premises, right? And so one of the things that we could help with is be able to say, all right, you got this environment on premises, you have your gateway, you have your storefront, and we're going to help you migrate over to a Citrix Cloud scenario on your time and have you cut over, right? And so we can have that cutover happen, and we can manage the scale up and scale down, et cetera, for you behind the scenes. So, again, if you're not looking at Citrix Cloud, and if you were in the answer of, hey, I haven't looked at it yet, I highly suggest it. I think it's a great way to future-proof yourself as you evolve into this, hybrid DaaS, hybrid workspaces world. And then finally, you can do a mishmash, right? And so a lot of folks said, hey, we have hybrid, we're still using maybe a gateway on-prem, we might have our DDC still present for some of our apps and desktops, and yeah, you have your little cloud connector here, and you connect it, and you can use your storefront, right? And so you still have this complex environment, but you're still not getting the fullness out of Citrix Cloud. And so that's another area where we can potentially help is, hey, how do we get you to leverage Citrix Cloud fully? And maybe this backend here, you keep in your data center, you may pivot it up to Azure, Google Cloud Platform. Again, we don't care, all right? So again, why am I talking about this? I want to set the stage to what we do. And then finally, a lot of you said, and I was surprised, it'd be interesting to see the percentage that, hey, I'm full end-to-end Citrix Cloud or Citrix DaaS, right? And so you're using the gateway service to some degree. You might be doing the proxy to an ADC here. You might be using an SSO MFA provider in a different modality. Whatever the use case may be here, that's typically where I see a lot of the customization occur. But you're managing everything from here. And for those who know me pretty well, I've been touching Citrix Cloud for 5+ years, and we all remember the Cloud Studio, right? And I got to say kudos to Citrix. They've done a great job with the web-based portal, and have come a long way since that clunky Cloud Studio, right? And so now it's usable. And so the thing that you still have to think about is, well, I got these things called cloud connectors. How do I manage and make sure those are up? And I still got all this stuff somewhere. It can be in my data center. It can be in Azure. It can be in Google Cloud Platform. It can be all the above. We don't care. Again, how do you manage this? How do you support it? How do you ensure its uptime? All right. Now, finally, before I jump into what we do and why we do it, and then get into a fun demo, I borrowed this from the Citrix Tech Zone site, and I really like this drawing. I think it's a great drawing. I'll say there was a vendor who did this concept way back when, and if you want to Google it, Google Brian Madden, and you can email me for the vendor later. But this layout is just nice. I like it. It explains the different buckets. And so, if you're stuck here, my question to the people that are managing is, do you like not going on vacation, right? So how about you only have to worry about your users and let someone else worry about the rest, okay? And so that's really where, if you look at managed DaaS, where Citrix is trying to head, but where it stops is kind of right here, because you still got to maintain your OS, your apps, and your data, right? But where it also stops is they also only do managed DaaS on the cloud. So it's in either Google or Azure. Now, a service provider can do all the above. Now, are you saying, hey, Pete, is Flexxible IT a service provider? No, we're I'd say a hybrid. We come in, we put your DaaS instance where you want it, and we manage the full platform, and we can manage up to here, or we can even manage up to here if you want. So it depends on how you engage us. All right, so I'm going to pause. Are there any questions, comments before I jump into the why Flexxible?
And there was just a comment from James. I think you know him by Jim. made your life hard? This is what he wrote. Since you moved to the Queen City.
Have I what?
Since you moved to the Queen City, in making hard time for you, Jim. I think you
Oh
know
yeah.
him.
Hey Jim.
And
Yeah.
so no, it just wrote a comment, but yeah. I mean, he was looking at the sponsor on the new website, and he thought that Flexxible was not a sponsor, but the fact is, Flexxible is a sponsor
Oh cool. Yeah, we
of
are. Yep.
CUGC.
Yep, we are. We are global. Yep. So thanks for that. All right,
That
so let's
that
jump
was
in.
the comment. Yeah.
So why flexible? So flexible, the goal is simple. I want to uncomplicate your Citrix, your cloud, your hybrid, your everything, right? And so what you're going to get, and there's a couple flavors, but the summary is a fully managed scenario in your tenant. So tenant can be in your data center, in your cloud, all the above. We don't care. We provide L2, L3, L4 support with add-on for L1 and L1.5 if needed. We provide 8x5 operations upgradable to 24/7, and in some packaging, which I'll talk about that in a minute, we can include the hardware at a per month OPEX cost. Now, the great thing about the solution is we don't care who you're running, what you're doing under the covers. We just try to simplify it and make it easy, and that's our goal. So, are you saying that Citrix will manage or are you saying you will manage my Citrix environment? And the simple answer is yes. And that's what our goal is. We want to come in and take over this piece right here and help you manage and maintain that. But more importantly, be your backbone and help you make sure you have uptime, you have a good digital user experience, and we can help simplify the day-to-day. And the good news is it's not that expensive. And I won't, get into pricing today because I'm not a sales guy, but I'll just say this, it's definitely worth a look. And even without the hardware in place, it's still very affordable. So we have 3 different packages, and I'm going to give a little hint here. You want to join me in July. We're going to be launching 2 other packages. One's going to be interesting, and I think the community will like it. The other one will be very edgy, so read between the lines. But we have 3 packages right now. We have standard, advanced, and enterprise, and I'll explain what each one of these are. But really the goal is simple. We want to uncomplicate your hybrid environments. Now, in each bucket, we'll determine how far we uncomplicate it, right? And so a little more detailed view, and you can see standard is just our software-based offering. And we're about, I'm going to formally launch this over the next week. And you can go and find us in the Azure Marketplace. So if you go and search for Flex Workspaces, which is the software portal of the solution, you can install it and run it in your own tenant. If you're interested in POCing or piloting this, please let me know, and I'd be more than happy to hop on a phone call and help you get it up and running. So again, we will be running pilots of these, and it's a 90-day pilot, and you can check it out and you can get your hands around how we manage and maintain you from a back end support. Now, advanced is our software only with management support. So if you already have an existing cloud, you already have a Nutanix environment as an example, we'll come in, we'll layer our management on top, and then we take over operations and we assume patching updates and upgrades, and we manage the platform end to end for you. Now, obviously, there's a little asterisk there. If the hardware breaks down, we'd have to work hand in hand with you to make sure that it's still under maintenance, and we help you get it supported, and we can even swap it out for you. The enterprise stack is the full hardware. So this is hardware included. It can be on premises. It could be an Equinix data center. It could be any AT&T. We don't care, but it's a physical offering, and it can be anywhere you want it, where you want it, how many data centers you want it in, et cetera. And it's very scalable. And the great thing about this is it's OPEX. So we don't charge for the hardware up front, and we charge you a per monthly fee. Now, with advanced and enterprise, what's unique about these 2 solutions is you don't get your first bill until month 3. The reason why is we come in, we implement in month 1 and month 2, and then we start managing and maintaining it in month 3. Now, if you're a pretty advanced environment, we can usually get it done faster. All right. So these are the offerings. If you want to dig into these a little more, please reach out. I don't want to bore you with non-technical stuff, right? So, all right. So here's the 2 architectural examples, and then I'll jump into a demo. All right. So the first one is our enterprise stack. And this is a great stack. So right here you can see there's hardware, and this hardware is included. So you have your compute, which we call our appliance, and you have our management plane, which we call our edge. These are fully redundant, fully HCI devices that we partner with various vendors in the back end to deploy our solution. Now you'll notice here, yes, we love Pure and we partner with Pure. So Pure Storage is a partner and the vendor of choice that we use for our storage. And then we do Cisco at the switching layer. And then if we need to add this switch right here to connect into your infrastructure because you don't trust us, we can do that as well. And so at the end of the day, you're looking at a full stack offering that we can put into any data center, and it can scale up on demand and it can scale down as needed as well. So the way we approach it is when you get to 20% utilization, we'll come say, all right, you're going to grow to any more. We figure out the equation and we throw another compute node into the stack. And then guess what? We do that all for you, and we maintain the hardware and we maintain the ELA or SLAs of the hardware as well. So if in 3 years you're still a customer, we come in, we swap out the hardware and upgrade you to newer hardware. So again, per month and no upfront cost other than the first year. All right. Next, we have our advanced architecture, and this is like, hey, Pete, I already own Nutanix, or hey, I'm running an AVD, or I'm running Google Cloud. We don't care, and I want to leverage you to help me manage it and maintain it. So this is our software-only solution. Behind the scenes, we use this to help manage and maintain and alert us. Customers never see this, by the way, but these two pieces right here, you can fully interact with, as do we. Again, this is managed per month, per user per month, and it's a monthly based solution, and we come in and we put our automation on top. Now you'll also notice right here, if you're a ServiceNow shop, we can fully integrate into your ServiceNow and provide widgets into deploying a VM, etc., or you can call into ours and we can automate pretty much anything. All right, so let's have a little fun and jump into a demo. So the first demo I want to show, I'm pretty excited about this because the team worked pretty hard to get this done over the last month to 2 months, is we officially have integrated with Citrix DaaS from an API level. So now we can actually go in and pull in a DaaS deployment, and we can manage and look and maintain and pull any of the VMs that are in the deployment. So what I did is, I'm going to drag my screen over here, is I have my deployment here, and it's a very simple one, and then I'm going to show you a more detailed deployment in a little bit. All right, and I have just a few VMs sitting up here in Azure, and I have a Citrix demos deployed for today. All right, and you can see here, I'm going to go back up to my dashboard. So again, I'll show you another deployment I have. It's pretty boring dashboard right now because I don't have much in there. It's brand new. I literally built this last week to do some testing for the team, and I wanted to show how to integrate with Citrix. So what I'll do here is I'm going to go into my settings, and you'll notice we have a lot of great settings. And if you have any questions on anything, please don't hesitate to ask. And we can go into our subscriptions. So in our subscriptions is where we manage any and all types of subscriptions. Now, some we have some direct integration with, and others there's behind the scenes and documentation on how to pull it in. So recently we launched our Citrix DaaS support. So if I hit new, I won't bore you with pulling it in because it takes about 5 minutes. You have 3 options. You can pull in an AVD environment, a Citrix DaaS environment, or a Citrix on-prem. So yes, we support cloud and on-premises environments. I'll show you what both screens look like so you can see. So if I hit next, you have to go in and obviously create your API and your secret key and have your customer ID handy, right? And then you hit next and it pulls all the information in. So that's the cloud-based version. Now if I go previous and I say, hey, I'm going to do Citrix on-premises, I go in here, I put in my name, I put a Citrix site ID in, the domain and user and password. Now, you're probably going, well, how does your cloud connect? Well, one of the requirements we do have is you got to put our Flex agent on one of the DDCs, only one, all right? And our Flex agent is low touch and literally just used to communicate to the cloud to say, hey, I'm here, and here's all the information on the Citrix deployment. So that's the 2 ways you can pull it in, and I won't bore you because, again, it takes about 5 minutes to pull in, so I'm going to show you the net result. But before I do, for any of the AVD purists out there, we do also integrate with AVD. And again, you need your tenant ID, subscription ID, create an application with the secret, and you're good to go. And we also can pull in from Azure China Cloud, Azure Cloud, German, and the US Gov side as well. So we support all 4 of the Azure instances. All right, so the net result, if I want next finish, and we sat here and watched the screen, is we get this awesome icon with all the information on our deployment. Now, one of the other things we use is what's called the IoT hub, and that's how we use to communicate and send alerts to email, etc. All right, and you can see here, very simple environment, nothing too crazy. It pulls in any and all virtual machines that are associated with your deployment. And if I click on, for example, this one, it's going to show me the virtual machine or not. I'll go in there another way in a minute, but you can see all the information for the environment. Now, the other thing you noticed is, yes, I can also pull in my Azure subscription. So I can pull in Azure and I can see any and all VMs that are associated with my Azure subscription, any of the resource groups, and any cost savings. And this is something I'll show in a little bit because obviously brand new environment, not too much cost savings to show right now. All right, so now you say, all right, well, you got it pulled in. Why does this matter? Okay, and so the value here is we're trying to simplify, how do you, log in and support an end user, okay? And so if I go to my workspaces icon here, and actually I'll do something else really quick. I can also go and see any and all host pools that are associated with my environment. So if you're an AVD shop as well, we're going to be putting another, instead of calling it host pools, we're going to be able to pull in the Citrix machine catalogs in the next release. So that's something that we're working on for an enhancement. So keep an eye out for that. And then we can pull in all server information. So we pull this all in, and you're probably going, well, what if I don't have an agent on the OS? Well, we can see the information, but obviously with any type of these scenarios, you can, if you put our agent on, it's going to get you more data, more information. Okay. And again, I'm running the agent right now on my desktop here. So yes, we do support physical desktops, and I'll show you that in a minute. All right, now let's jump back up here to the workspace. All right, so again, very simple deployment. I'm going to show you a more complex one in a second. And I have my virtual machine running here, my multi-session VM. I'm going to click on it, and you can see here that, okay, one, it's a Citrix DaaS instance. It's on a Microsoft Azure. Here's the subscription broker. Here's the delivery group. So it pulls all the information in so you can see what's going on. And again, the goal here is simple. We're not trying to replace some of the other friendly vendors out there, right? We're trying to be an easier way to support the environment day to day. All right, so I equate it to, hey, you just hired John Doe from college. He's level 1 support guy. You really want him going into your Citrix portal or your Azure portal to try to hodgepodge and troubleshoot something. No, right? And so what we're trying to do is simplify, how do you support the day to day? So you notice up here, we have our operations drop down. You can do various things like turn down and shut off and restart. You can assign flags. You can do custom operations, and this list depends on the OS type that you have deployed. So everything from simple AVD type stuff to more complex install FS logics to virtual desktop optimization. So we can do some basic stuff as well. But more importantly, we can go and turn on maintenance mode. We can notify your users. So there's a lot of functionality within the UI that the help desk person doesn't need to go and dig deeper into the UI. It's very clean. It's very simple, right? So let's do a little example here. And I got to bring up my demo cloud. So I'll log in. And so I got my little Citrix demo running here, and I'm going to log on. All right. And I'll do a desktop scenario for this. And we'll click on our multi-session VM, and I'll just use the browser just to keep it simple. All right. Now we're going to log in, and it takes about maybe a minute to register here, but you can see if I do a quick refresh here, we'll be able to see our sessions, and we can see the session count. Now, one of the things you'll see is over time, and again, I'll refresh this in a minute, is we track every session that gets logged into the machine. All right, and that's pretty cool and it's pretty useful. I've heard people ask for that in the past, and we can see like how many folks have logged in, if they didn't log in, when they disconnected, etc. One of the other things we can do is set alerts for performance issues. We can, perform jobs, whether on demand or scheduled, and we can check out things like the event log. We can check out connection logs. So there's a lot of things we can do to see what's going on with this machine, right? So pretty cool UI, pretty simple. So I refresh it, and let's see, I'll do sessions again. And you can see that here's my session, and you can see different operations we can take on the session as well. All right. Now, one of the things we also can do, and I'll show you the net of this, is we can do power management policies and power management activity. And you're probably going, well, Citrix does this today. Yep, true. But one of the things we're trying to do is, hone in on the cost savings factor. All right. And one of the other integrations, if maybe for a future session, is we integrate with FSLogix and profile storage and minimizing the profiles on a scheduled basis or on demand or at the point in time. All right. So I'll pause there, see if there's any questions around how we integrate with Citrix. And I just want to summarize before I show you the more detailed environment I have, because there's a lot more data in this next environment that I can show you. So any questions, Arno?
There is no question, but I have one question for you.
Sure.
So I saw on your demo that you can manage, let's say, for example, you can restart a VDA. So the question I have, when you manage an Azure compute, when you shut down, will it shut down the Windows OS, or will it stop the VM in Azure and deallocate?
I will do the deallocation as well. So okay. We'll go and shut down and deallocate.
Okay, it's a cost, by the way.
It's a what?
It's a cost question. When it's deallocated, you just pay for the disk. When you stop it in Windows, you still pay as well.
Yep.
Okay. My question. I see no other question. Thank you.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to bring up our more detailed environment so you can see that, and you can see a little more what's going on. I just wanted to show the integration with Citrix DaaS and didn't have time to add it into our bigger environment that we have. And you can see here a lot more going on. And we break the UI into 3 buckets. We have our level 1, our level 2 support, and then we have our CMDB, which is a new feature we just launched for one of a few of our customers. And then we have our settings, right? And so there's 3 roles. We have an L1 role. We have L1 read write, L1 read only. We have L2 read write, L2 read only, and then we have admin read write, admin read only. So we offer 3 out of the box RBAC scenarios. And again, if you're an L1, you're only going to be able to see these nodes right here and nothing else. If you're an L2, you're only going to be able to see L1 and L2. And if you're an admin, you'll see everything. All right. And so that's how we bundle, the roles up, and we fully integrate with Active Directory, and we can also integrate with SQL, Azure SQL. Now, one of the things I talked about before was subscriptions. So I'll bring it up really quick again, and you can see there's different subscriptions here. So I have, Citrix on premises, and I got to make sure I click on the right one because I think Webster moved his recently, and I won't be able to see it. So let's see, I'll try this one right here. So you can see, like, here's Mr. Guy Leach's scenario, his DDC, and then here's some of the VMs that are associated with his environment. So again, we can fully pull in and manage an on-premise environment and help you, with the day-to-day support. As far as subscription, you can see, here's another example here, and I always click on this one, is you can see all the VMs associated with this Azure instance. You can see all the resource groups. So very simple, and then you can see some of the cost savings. So one of the things we're focused on is, how to deal with orphan disks, all right? And we can automate this. So if I click on one of these disks here, I can do a deletion, and I can do it scheduled, unscheduled, or delete now. So I can schedule it, and let's say, oh no, I can't delete that, and I have to go and unschedule it, right? Or I want to just delete it now. So I can go and delete it now, and then it will track how much savings you have from an orphan disk's point of view. So we're trying to focus very heavily on the ROI of what desktop as a service is giving you. All right, another ROI scenario I want to show you is a very simple one. Is I can go into our integration with FSLogix. You can pull in your service account name for the management. You can enable and disable the schedules, and you can go in and set what type should automatic compaction happen. Now, obviously, this is a fine line here. I always recommend, if you're going to automate it, always back it up, because you never know. Or you can do it on demand, right? And you can set alerts to notify you if a profile gets to a certain point. Now, one of the things I like is I can go in and pull any shares across the environment into this and have one view of all my profiles, okay? So we have full integration with FSLogix, and you're probably going, well, where do you see that? So I go up here into my level 2 bucket, and I click on profile storage, and I can see all the profiles across my environment. All right, so I'm going to go and search for mine, and you can see, hey, I got 2 profiles, and I did a demo last week, and you can see, hey, I've compacted it one time, and I manually did that. You'll also notice that we can track not only the user profile, but the Office disk as well. So if you're set up to use FSLogix with Office and user profile, and for those who know FSLogix, hopefully know what I'm talking about. If not, don't hesitate to reach out. I can take you through FSLogix. We can see both, and we can compact and manage both. So for example, if I click here, I can see that, here's my profile, that it's okay. It's not backed up. Obviously demo environment here, and then how many times I compacted it, and so how much data have I saved, and then one of the things we're going to be adding soon to this UI is a cost savings analysis. All right, so again, another area where we're trying to help you save money in the cloud. All right, so the final thing I want to show before we close out for today, and I try to keep this just under an hour, I know everybody's busy, is workspaces. So if I click on my workspaces, you'll see a little bit more here than my other environment, because guess what? I have a lot more going on. So, for example, I can show me all cloud-based devices, and it will show you any and all cloud types. And if I scroll up and down here, you can see a lot of different scenarios. I got Citrix on Hyper-V, Citrix on Azure, AVD, Cloud PC, you name it, we got it, right? I can unclick that and say, hey, show me some physical scenarios. So yes, we can run our agent on a physical endpoint, and just for fun, I'll click on my laptop here that I'm using, and you can see, yeah, I got my agent running here. You can see the broker it's communicating, no broker detected, it's physical, and yeah, I do have that much RAM because I need it. And you can see all the disks and partitions. You can see event logs. So you can go in and just see the general gist of what's going on. And I always like checking this because see what errors are happening and see if there's any major ones, right? And you can see again the sessions. Now again, if this is a multi-session machine or a pooled machine, we can track who logs on and when they logged off, etc. Right? And a lot of people like to know that just for sanity's sake, etc. Right? Now, if I go back to my workspace, again, we can filter based on the cloud. So I can go show me all Citrix on premises. And again, we use the icons I'm clicked on Azure. Show me all Citrix cloud. And so very simple UI. I can just click on and unclick to unfilter and filter. And and I can keep going. So I can go and say, show me AWS, so you can see all the different cloud platforms here. And I'd be curious if you're using Google Cloud, let us know. We can integrate with Google Cloud. we'll just show it up here right now. We're working on how to identify it. All right. Now, the other area that's interesting is I can see the different maintenance states. So, you know, I can go and say, hey, show me any device that's in drain mode or, you know, maintenance mode is like Citrix likes to call it. Okay. And so I can get a good synopsis and good view of what's going on. And you'll notice, hey, here's a little, you know, question mark, and it's saying, hey, the power state is unknown. All right. So that means it could be unregistered. It might have an issue, and we can go and troubleshoot it based on the scenario. Right. Show me anything that's, you know, not communicating. So if I click on here, I don't know if I'll have any. Nope, I don't have any. But show me anything that's unregistered or AVD, unavailable state. So again, you can go and troubleshoot based on that. So that's what that big red X means. So just a very simple user interface to navigate all the various scenarios that you might have under the covers. And the goal here is very simple. How do I uncomplicate the day-to-day? But more importantly, if you want to go deeper, how do we streamline and manage the full environment for you?
Pete?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry. I have two questions. The first one from Ravi. Who is managing subscription and license cost?
Who is managing what?
Subscription or license cost?
So that's a good question. So if we come in with advanced or our enterprise stack, we assume the responsibility for managing your Citrix environment, and that includes the Citrix bits. That includes the so if you install, if we come in with advanced or enterprise, we assume responsibility for Citrix, the bits, upgrades, etc. Now, obviously, we'll work with you as the customer to say, do you want LTSR or do you want to be on the latest version? And we come up with an SLA and project plan and when it should be done and how it should be done. So essentially, the only thing as the admin, the Citrix admin, you're worrying about is the day-to-day, making my users happy and, you know, making sure your apps and your final app bits are up and running. Now, we can assume app management, but that's where it gets a little dicey, right? So you might have an internal app. It's, you know, it's kind of customized for your shop or your company, and it's hard for us to support. But I mean, we can support apps, but obviously you as the enterprise expert know your apps and your users. So we tend to stop at the app layer.
Okay. And I have another question from Steve. You mentioned Kindle. Can you talk more about partnership with them? There are DaaS environments supported by them today. What would it look like if they were to leverage your product services?
Yeah, good question. So Kyndryl is a global integrator. We've been with Kyndryl since 2011, excuse me, 2012. I don't quote me on that. I'm going off the top of my head right now. And they have their digital workspace services / solutions, and we're one of the offerings under the covers. So if Kyndryl were to walk in and sell you their digital workspace solution, they would sell you the stack that they call their virtualization stack, and they would then under the covers be implementing Citrix, flexible workspaces, and then some other stuff that they integrate. So it's a full stack solution, and then we manage and maintain. So here's the site if you want to go to the main site, and it's called the Digital Workplace. And then if you scroll down, there's the different buckets. And we fall under this bucket right here, the digital virtualization services. So we're actually the backbone to this solution. And I'm trying to find it right now. I actually have a cool picture I can bring up too, if I have time. And this is what our stack looks like in the wild. So give me a second. So that's an example of one of our stacks, and that's actually a Kyndryl customer. And you can see we have our pure storage and all our compute here that we maintain and manage in the deployment.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully that answered the question.
So
cool. So I'll do a final call for questions and kind of do my wrap, and then I'll, I guess, hand it over to Stephanie to close out. So, again, if you want peace of mind for 5+ years, the goal is simple. We want to come in and, give you a solution that you can pay as you grow on a monthly basis. And that can be, with hardware or without. We want to offer you a premium service with high SLAs. We want to allow you to scale to anything. We don't care what cloud, what data center that you use. We just want to allow you to choose what you want. And we don't require any upfront costs or lock you in. So if you want to be on Azure this year and Google next year, we don't care. We're going to help you migrate and manage your environment as you see fit. So with this, again, we have our 3 components. We have Flex Workspaces, which is our end user support and portal. We have our Flex Analyzer, which I could do on another session. That's a whole other hour conversation. That's our analytics. That's our pre, during, and post deployment solution, which we track all your apps, end user experience, and then track end user experience throughout the duration of the environment deployment. And then finally, we have a tight integration with ServiceNow to help manage and maintain and automate the day-to-day operations and support. And so with that, that's our desktop as a service solution with Citrix. And if you have any other questions, I'll pause here. And Stephanie, I'll hand it back to you.
Awesome, thank you. There I am. Let me just have a couple of slides left for everyone. Let me just grab that back. See if we're gonna show the screen. Nope, it's the white screen. Does this sometimes. We were just lamenting GoToWebinar earlier. Let's see if I can make it work. No. Yep.
Oh, there it goes.
Oh, that's my
That's your
background. Stop. Okay. I don't know what to say. There we go. Did it. Hey, 3rd time's a charm. Fun with technology. One thing I forgot to mention at the top of the webinar is the upcoming Excel event in New York City. We're really excited about that. So there's a link in the chat for you to our events list. It's in person. It's going to be really fun. You can see we got Christian Riley coming from Citrix. It's going to be a great day. So definitely check out our events calendar. And then I want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to thank you, Pete. Thanks, Arnaud. Thanks for being on today. And then also, I know some of you may have opted in for a chance to win the Sonos Roam wireless speaker. So the way that works is as soon as I close down the webinar, I pull the attendee list. I use the number randomizer to try to say that fast 5 times. Oh, there it is.
I love mine, so that's why I chose it.
Look at, does you have a cover on yours, or is that just a different option?
No, I have a cover on it, so.
Very cool, a protective cover.
Yeah, the kids, they'll drop it, and yeah, then they see a mad dad. So.
So I will use the Google number randomizer. I will randomly select a winner, and I will send you an email, so be on the lookout for an email from me, and I will also announce the winner on Twitter. All right, thanks again, everybody, for being with us today, and we hope to see you at another CGC event again soon. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.